Cakes and Cookies, Chapter 23. There are 3 different types of cakes: shortened cakes, unshortened cakes, and chiffon cakes. Shortened cakes are usually described as a cake made with fat. They're also referred to as butter cakes or conventional cakes. There's different types of shortened cakes: bundt cake, butter cake. A butter cake is commonly used on birthdays, weddings, and graduations. Carrot cake. This is a sweet spice cake that closely resembles a quick bread. Basic ingredients include grated carrots, nuts, and cinnamon. Cheesecake. Cheesecake fillings are made from cream cheese, cottage cheese, or ricotta cheese mixed with eggs, sugar, and flavorings. Bombonlone cakes are ring-shaped cakes that are lightly sweetened and flavored with dry fruit and lemon zest. Coffee cakes are usually served at breakfast, brunch, or afternoon tea. They're sweet, rich cakes that are similar to bread. A cupcake is a small individual cake baked in a cup-shaped mold, usually paper-lined, that can be made from different cake batters. Devil's food cake, a rich chocolate-layered cake with a reddish hue. Fruitcake is a traditional British cake made with fruit, nuts, and spices. Fruitcake is generally laced with alcohol. German chocolate cake is made with German chocolate, which is usually sweeter than baking chocolate, to create this chocolate buttermilk cake that is usually topped with coconut pecan frosting. In an ice cream cake, ice cream serves as the center of a butter cake. A moon cake is a Chinese cake that is usually consumed during the Harvest Moon Festival. A muffin is a miniature version of a shortbread. Pound cake is added with 1 pound each of butter, sugar, flour, and eggs. Upside down cake. After baking, this cake is literally turned upside down. Chopped or whole fruits such as pineapple or cherries are placed on the bottom of the pan on top of a layer of brown sugar before the batter is poured. Unshortened cakes are also known as sponge or foam cakes. Unshortened cakes are made without added fat. Just like shortened cakes, there are several types of unshortened cakes. Angel food cake is made of whipped eggs, and the lack of fat contributes to the very light, airy texture and taste of the cake. A Boston cream pie. This pie is really a cake. The cream is really vanilla custard spread through 2 layers of sponge cake. A chocolate glaze is poured over the top. Duquoise is a French cake that consists of alternating layers of meringue and buttercream. Ground nuts are usually added to the meringue, and sometimes whipped cream may replace the buttercream. Z'anzoise is an Italian cake. The use of whole eggs and melted butter makes it different from other sponge cakes. It may also be sliced into layers separated by chocolate, fruit, pastry cream, or whipped cream. A meringue cake. A meringue layers from the bases of this cake, which is usually topped with soft spreads such as marzipan and whipped cream. Petit four. These small, multi-layered cakes, averaging only 1 inch in square, are usually elaborately decorated with icing. Roulade. This is a rolled sponge cake filled with various ingredients that can include preserves, frosting, nuts, and other flavorings. Tiramisu. Tiramisu basically consists of sponge cake or ladyfinger cookies soaked in coffee and alcohol, spread with unique Italian ingredients of mascarpone, cheese, and zabaione, and then topped with sprinkles of finely grated chocolate. A chiffon cake is a hybrid of shortened and unshortened cakes. An example of a chiffon cake would be a lemon chiffon cake or a chocolate chiffon cake. Cakes are enriched with several ingredients. Flour. Cake flour establishes a crumb structure in cakes. The flour starch gelatinizes in its proteins from gluten to provide a structural network. Sugar. Sugar has four main roles. It sweetens, increases volumes, browns the crust, and increases the shelf life. With sugar, the cake has more time to rise during baking before the starch gelatinizes and sets the cake structure. Fats. Fats such as butter and shortening also contribute to tenderness, volume, moistness, and flavor. These attributes are best achieved by fats other than vegetable oil, which does not entrap air during creaming. Eggs. Eggs are added to help strengthen the structure as well as increase leavening, which adds flavor and color. Milk. Milk hydrates the dry ingredients, dissolves the sugar and salt, provides steam for leavening, and allows baking soda or powder to react and produce carbon dioxide gas. Leaving agents. The amount of chemical leaving agent used is dependent on how much flour is used. For every cup of flour, high ratio cakes use 1 teaspoon of baking powder or a quarter teaspoon of baking soda. Salt is an important ingredient because it is a flavor enhancer. Food additives. Cakes made from scratch do not contain food additives other than standard ingredients such as sugar, salt, and possible chemical leaveners. Other additives are introduced when certain commercial cake mixes, cakes, or toppings are purchased. Other factors that contribute to cakes other than ingredients are the type of pan used in their treatment, timing, temperature, and the way you test for doneness. When it comes to preparing shortened cakes, there are several steps that need to be taken. You need to select a dull, rough surface pan. Shortened cakes need to be baked at a temperature of 35 to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Layer cakes in 8, 9, or 10-inch pans need to be baked for an hour and a half. Cupcakes take an average of 20 minutes to bake. When preparing shortened cakes, heat increases volume by expanding air, steam, and CO2. Cooking at a low temperature creates decreased volume. Cooking at high temperature creates a humped form on the top of the cake. When the cake is coming to completion, there are several ways to test for it to be done. You can touch it, observe the appearance. The appearance will be the cake is golden and starts to wrinkle at the pan edges, or you can do an insertion test, which is usually used by a toothpick or a fork. After completion, allow the shortened cake to cool for 5 to 10 minutes. Do not remove the cake from the pan until after 15 minutes. Altitudes higher than 3,000 feet need ingredient modifications. Microwavable cakes cook in about 10 minutes. There are a few different steps when it comes to preparing an unshortened cake. Use ungreased pans. 2 pans are used for structure. You bake at an average of 350 to 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes. Cake is done when the surface is lightly brown. However, unlike shortened cakes, unshortened cakes, you cannot use the toothpick technique because it does not work. When preparing an angel food cake, the 3 basic ingredients are egg whites, sugar, and cake flour. A good thing to remember when creating an angel food cake is all ingredients must be at room temperature. When it comes to preparing an angel food cake, the way the ingredients are added is very important. When mixing, sugar is added after the egg white form. Salt and flavorings are also added at this time. The cake is to be placed on the lower third of the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. The average baking time of an angel food cake is approximately 45 minutes. Like an angel's food cake, a sponge cake is prepared similarly, except there are a few exceptions. Sponge cake has 2 forms, an egg white form and an egg yolk form, and also the lemon juice replaces the cream of tartar. There are several methods used when preparing a sponge cake. In the first method, the egg whites and yolks are first separated and then beaten separately. Sugar and possibly vanilla extract are beaten into the whipped yolks. The cake flour is then gently folded in, followed by egg white foam. Method 2. The syrup or meringue method causes a finer textured end product. A syrup is made by cooking 2 parts sugar with 1 part water and boiling the mixture until it has reached the softball stage. Egg whites are beaten with cream of tartar until they are stiff but have not yet formed dry peaks. Then, as the egg white foam is beaten constantly, the hot syrup is poured into it in a fine stream. When the meringue is completed, beaten egg yolks are combined with lemon juice and folded into the mixture. Finally, cake flour is sifted over and lightly folded into the other ingredients. Method 3. In the third method, whole eggs are beaten until foamy and pale yellow in color, then a small amount of cream of tartar or lemon juice is added. The mixture is beaten until stiff before the sugar is added in 2 tablespoon increments. A pre-sifted flour and salt combination is then sifted into the egg mixture and folded into the batter. The steps to take when it comes to preparing a chiffon cake is to prepare a mixture of cake flour, sugar, bean yolks, and oil. Fold the whipped egg whites into the mixture. Bake in a preheated oven at 325 degrees Fahrenheit. After completion, the cake should be placed on a cooling rack for 20 minutes. There are several different types of frosting/icings. The first is flat frosting. Uncooked flat or ornamental frostings are the simplest to prepare. Flat frostings are made by beating powdered sugar 10 times with water, milk, or cream, and a flavoring. Powdered sugar is used rather than granulated because it dissolves instantly in unheated liquids. Whipped cream frosting. Whipped cream can be used as a frosting or even filling. Cocoa or fruit purees can be added to color and flavor the whipped cream. Decorating frosting. Decorating frosting is also called simple cream, royal, or ornamental frosting is traditionally used for decorating wedding cakes. It is similar to flat frosting, but beaten egg whites are added to impact a firmer structure to the icing when dried. Ganche frosting is rich, smooth, and shiny chocolate cream mixture used for both frosting and a filling for certain cakes and pastries. Prepared from heated mixture of chopped chocolate and heavy cream, ganche is poured over baked items where it is essentially hardens into a chocolate-based covering. Cooked frostings. Cooked frostings are often made with granulated sugar that is dissolved in heated water. Additional ingredients may include egg whites, cream of tartar, or corn syrup. A common cooked frosting contains either granulated or confectioner's sugar is buttercream frosting. Buttercream has 3 different types: Swiss buttercream, Italian buttercream, and French buttercream. Garnishes. Numerous garnishes from figurines to candles can be added to cakes, limited only by the imagination. There are several different ways you can store the cake. Placing a half an apple in the cake box extends the shelf life. Frosting the cake as soon as it cools helps with moisture. The amount of sweetener used. Freezing is also the best way to store a cake for a longer period of time. There are 6 different types of cookies: bar, dropped, pressed, molded, rolled, and icebox/refrigerator cookies. Bar cookies. The most fluid of cookie batters is used to make bar cookies. The batter is baked in a pan instead of a baking sheet and cut into individual pieces or bars with a knife or spatula. Brownies. A rich chocolate cake named after its color. Brownies may or may not contain nuts. Lemon bars. Lemon bars are bar cookies that have a sweet, rich, tart, lemony custard top on a shortbread base. Dropped cookies. Drop cookie batter is literally dropped from a spoon or portion control scoop onto a baking sheet. The batter contains just enough flour so the cookie will not spread out like a pancake when it is dropped onto the baking sheet. Chocolate chip cookies. This is the most popular cookie in North America. Cialde is an Italian and it's flavored cookie. Cialde can be eaten plain or stuffed with fillings, usually fruit. Florentines. Florentines are round, wafer-thin cookies made from nuts and canned fruit that is coated with a sugar syrup. This chewy cookie is coated with chocolate on the side. Fortune cookies. These plain, thin, crisp wafer cookies are still warm when folded around a small strip of paper that often has a fortune printed on it. Cooling makes the cookie turn crisp and hard, so the only way to retrieve the fortune is to break the cookie open. Madeleines. Madeleines require special pans with shell-shaped indentions to produce these often buttery, lemon-flavored cookies. Meringues. These raindrop-shaped cookies have a delicate structure based on sugared whipped egg whites. Pressed cookies. The flour mixture for pressed cookies is viscous enough to be stuffed into a pastry bag or cookie press and forced out through cookie dies. Ladyfingers. These light, sweet sponge cake cookies look like big, flat fingers because of their whipped egg white content. Ladyfingers are created by piping Genoese sponge cake batter into flat strips. Macarons. As a close cousin to the meringue, macarons are mound-shaped cookies often made by shredded coconut, sweetened condensed milk, and almond or vanilla extract. A typical macaron is lightly brown and crisp on the outside, but soft and chewy on the inside. Molded cookies. This dough is heavy enough to be formed or molded into balls, bars, or other shapes before being placed on a baking sheet. Molded other cookies sometimes have powdered sugar sprinkled on top, which can be applied evenly by using a mesh tea strainer. Almond cookies. These light and delicate Chinese cookies emit an almond aroma derived from almond extract. Biscotti di Prato. These Italian cookies are first baked as a loaf, then cut into strips and baked again. The double baking creates a hard texture, making them excellent for serving with coffee or cappuccino. Cortacos. Hispanic markets carry these lightly sweetened cookies made with cornmeal. Peanut butter cookies. George Washington Carver takes credit for peanut butter cookies because he came up with 100 ways to use peanuts. Rolled cookies. Rolled cookies are made from slightly heavier dough than molded cookies. The dough was rolled out onto a lightly floured board and cut into desired shape. Powdered sugar may be used in place of flour on the cutting board, but obviously it will make the cookies slightly sweeter. Butter cookies. Butter cookies are thin, crisp cookies made with butter, flour, and sugar. Butter cookies comes in various shapes, circles, ovals, and squares. Cannoli shell. Italians sometimes stuff these cookies with ricotta cheese-based sweet fillings. Gingerbread. Ginger is the main spice used in gingerbread cookies, cake, and houses. Cookies are often shaped into gingerbread men. The amount of ginger added to each of these desserts determines the spiciness and whether their color is light or dark. Linzer cookies. These cookies are uniquely identified by variously shaped holes through which preserves can be viewed. Linzer cookies are white on top because of the fine dusting of confectioner's sugar. Mandelbrot. Although similar to almond-flavored biscotti, these cookies are smaller and softer. They are typically sold in Jewish markets. Sablés. Sable is a French word meaning sand, and these cookies are so named because of their sandy, crummy texture Fluted edges characteristically distinguish Subliss from other shortbread cookies. Shortbread cookies. These rich, dense, crumbly cookies have a melt-in-the-mouth texture because they are made with a 3-to-1 portion of flour, butter, and sugar. Sometimes ground rice or corn flour is added to further define the delicate texture that crumbles easily in the mouth. Sugar. Sugar cookies are derived from a sugar-based dough that is rolled and then cut into various designs by cookie cutters. Sugar sprinkles often decorate the top. The baking time largely determines whether they are soft and chewy or crisp. Icebox/refrigerator cookies. The same kind of dough used for rolled cookies can be formed into a cylinder, wrapped and placed into the refrigerator to harden. The chilled dough is then sliced into thin discs for baking. The commercially prepared cookie doughs sold in the refrigerator section of the supermarket are the icebox/refrigerator type. While cookies are not generally marketed for their health benefits, some manufacturers have begun to add healthful ingredients in order to market them as functional foods. For example, dietary fiber, flax, probiotics, vitamin E, and omega-3 fatty acids can be additives to improve the nutritional profile of baked sweets. When it comes to preparing cookies, all-purpose flour is preferred over cake flour. Ingredients are usually mixed together until moistened. Over-mixing causes the cookies to become hard. When it comes to baking cookies, cookie sheets are preferred except for bar cookies. Use a greased sheet for only dropped, bar, or rolled cookies. Cookies cook best on the middle or top rack. Place cookies far enough apart so they don't mold together when baking. Usually cookies cook at 325 to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Meringue or sponge cookies, however, bake at 225 degrees Fahrenheit. The average baking time varies between 10 and 30 minutes depending on the type of cookie. Cookies are generally done when the cookie is brown and the center is cooked. The easiest way to determine is to split the cookie open and taste. Baking at higher altitudes requires a temperature increase. Here is a list of ways that cookies are stored best: airtight containers, plastic wrap, metal foil, or freezing.